This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Good Sunday morning. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Business and Politics. I'm Janelle Lilly in for Roby Brock. This past week, the death penalty was duked out in the courts. Some interesting developments and a lot more expected in the near future. So to walk us through what's become a ping pong match between the rulings in the Circuit Court and Supreme Court, I sat down with Bowen School of Law professor Ken Gallant. Take a look. Professor Gallant, we had some big news here in Arkansas this past week. I'm curious if you can take us back to the beginning, maybe for someone who hasn't been following this news story as it's developed through the court system. What is it exactly that the inmates are challenging?
Essentially, the inmates and their attorneys are concerned that the executions that are planned might be what's technically called cruel and unusual punishment in constitutional law. As you know, there have been some botched executions around the country that have really been pretty horrible. And they are afraid that that could happen in Arkansas.
And specifically, the law that's causing concern was one that was just passed during this last session that Governor Hutchinson signed into law. It allows the manufacturer to be kept quiet. We don't advertise who it is that's selling the drugs to Arkansas. Tell me a little bit about why that could or could not be considered unconstitutional.
Well, the problem is from the inmates and their attorneys' point of view, that if you don't know where these drugs are coming from and what their quality control procedures are, that there may not be a guarantee that they will work as intended. And so the inmates feel that in order to get at the constitutional issue of whether there will be such cruel and unusual punishment, they need to know this information.
And Judge Griffin already weighed in on this case. What is it exactly that his court did?
Well, he issued an order staying the executions, and he didn't really weigh in on anything else, because what he said was that the state must either provide the information to the inmates and their attorneys by October 21st, or object, for example, by filing a motion for a protective order. And then once that was done, then the case would go from there. And the Democrat Gazette reported yesterday that, in fact, the state has asked that the information be protected from disclosure to the inmates, or at very least that it be disclosed only to their attorneys with an order not to disclose it to the inmates.
Tell me a little bit about the process of discovery. It might be an ingenious way to get around the law that is currently in place, allowing by way of the legal system access to information that they otherwise might not have had.
I don't think of it. Discovery is a standard tool in most civil lawsuits, and indeed there are types of discovery in criminal cases as well. So there's nothing new about it, and there's also nothing really new about legislatures passing statutes to protect certain information and then courts having to decide when that information is relevant to a lawsuit, whether the rules and the statutes allowing discovery in lawsuits or the statute keeping certain information private should control.
Tell me where we are at this case right now. What happens next? What's the next step?
Well, I don't have everything here because, for example, I don't have the pleading that the Attorney General filed. I simply have the newspaper report of it. But at this point, it's for the attorneys for the inmates to come back and to say, well, we want this information, the order should be denied, or the protective order should be denied, and we should get this information. The judge then rules on that. Griffin then rules on that, and the case goes forward. We don't know if the judge were to order that the information be provided, we don't know whether the state would seek to appeal immediately again. They might do that. It would be called an interlocutory appeal because the case isn't over yet. Or if the case would simply go to decision in the trial court, and then all of the issues would be appealed.
So a lot to look out for. We'll be checking back in with you to help you navigate this whole system through it with us, and I thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.